Do you think there's a chance that the time has been compressed in a post-pandemic world, especially if there's nothing coming on the fiscal side? And I mean, when I say the fiscal side, I mean checks in people's pockets.
First of all, in terms of the definition of a recession by the National Bureau of Economic Research, which is the final arbiter of the date when it began and the date when the recession ended, even though we use 2 quarters of negative GDP, that's not really the definition. It is a comprehensive downward movement of various sectors within the economy. So when you take that into account, last year probably qualifies as a recession because it was not too long, as you said, but at least it was comprehensive. Everybody went down, and I was looking at the NFP, the job creation number. We lost about 20 million jobs in a single month, February of 2020.
Yes.
So in that sense, it qualifies as being a recession. Your question was, is the time reduced? I think this was reduced because they just threw everything, including the into the kitchen sink, so to say, the monetary policy, fiscal policy in numbers which make the 2008-2009 rescue look like child play compared with what we did. Therefore, we came out of it very, very fast. And I have a basic principle. Now that both of us are in Santa Monica, if you go and you take $100,000 worth of $100 bills right outside in the small area and you distribute it from a helicopter and let it fall, the GDP of Santa Monica would have increased immediately by $100,000.
Yes.
By definition.
Of course.
That is the statistics. And as people pick up the $100 bills and they spend it, there will be more a multiplied effect. That doesn't mean Santa Monica will generate more employment for the next 5 years. That is what has happened with the fiscal and monetary stimulus. You have done something to get you out of the rut immediately. And I have been a big fan of structural reforms. I watched Germany in 2003, 2005 with Chancellor Gerhard Schröder, and then allowing the fact that you as a worker who do not have skills which are in demand, if you would take a cut in your pay, the government will subsidize your education to become a welder or a carpenter for which there is demand.
Right.
The welder or carpenter, the person who runs the firm, wants to hire you because you're cheap, the government is subsidizing. A year passes by when you're an apprentice, now you're skilled. The employer doesn't want to let go of you. And that's what happened in bringing the German unemployment rate down, not because they ran a huge fiscal deficit or the German, there was no Bundesbank by then, you had the European Central Bank, which was providing all the cash in order to do that.
But they empowered, they re-empowered, they re-skilled their workforce.
Exactly.
And we've done the opposite. We've encouraged people to stay out of the workforce, and now they have serious skills atrophy. And and there's concern going forward that we're not going to have the right workers for the right positions. This has been 19 months of a wasted opportunity.
Absolutely correct. That is to me is the big issue. If you look at the 1.9 trillion in the Biden stimulus plan, or even if you look more at the 3.5 or 3.7 trillion more that the House passed, you are looking at very little that is talked about in terms of worker training and any established means of growing your skill, productivity. Instead, it's a case of let's pour more cash into it and that will create growth, but it will not sustain it.
No, that is the traditional definition of pork, so to speak.